liens primarily.
Title search, liens, taxes.
The flow of ownership, what's
Yeah,
it called
right.
again?
Title, it's like the chain of title.
Chain of title, right.
Chain of title.
But that's up in the first through there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything important's up in the first 2 or 3 pages.
So these are resources to use into the drive-by, the NVMS site. They're a local company out of Manassas, and I've used them a couple times for drive-bys, and they also do a nice little report on the property. And in one case, we were looking at a property, and I had concerns. The picture was like 3 years old, and the roof looked like it was about to come apart at that time. And the real estate agent I talked to in the area said they really had some bad storms and winds recently. So when they did the drive-by, I asked them to pay particular attention, and the guy actually gave me back his comments that, you know, the tabs on the shingles, probably 30% of them had been ripped off the roof. So that property was gonna have a water problem real quick. So, and that was just part of the $50. He was willing to provide additional information on that.
And we didn't buy it because of that.
Right, that was it. The property value, and with knowing those problems right off the bat, we walked away from that deal.
Yeah, this is definitely a business you gotta spend money to make money. You know, don't get cheap over an O&E report. Don't get cheap over a drive-by if you have to do it. It's just part of the expense. You gotta think of the business this way, right? So, and I was talking, you know, the whole thing with this business is 50% of people never get started because of what you said before, analysis paralysis. They'll sit there for 3 weeks looking over 10 notes and they can't make a decision, right?
And then one in 3 days.
Yeah.
Because you feel that you're forced to react so quickly without all the information at your disposal
Yeah.
too.
So,
Right.
so the whole thing is though, is that, you know, if you're, let's say you bid, and I'm just using numbers that we use because all of our notes that we bid, so there's 2 types of pricing, and Ken gets a little concerned about this because the gurus out there, I don't know how many of you went, I know a few of you went through some guru courses, and out there they, you know, let me just go back to gurus. Gurus are great guys, right? You guys did Scott Carson?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm friends with Scott Carson. He was the person that was just calling me. So, you know, I'm going to be doing business with him in the future. You know, but basically, Scott Carson, Eddie Speed, they are education guys. You know, they don't have $50 million hedge funds. They don't want to sell notes. They just sort of, you know, if their students want to see notes, they come to guys like me and a few other places and say, sell the notes and we'll take 10% of, you know, give me 10% of the profit or whatever. Right? They just want resources. But when it comes down to it, I just totally lost my thought. What were we talking about?
Gurus, and how great they are.
Oh.
And the real estate pricing,
Oh yeah.
how we can
Yeah,
different way we look at pricing.
so when it
Two
comes
types of price.
when it comes down to it, these guys, you go into these classes and they say, oh, you could get notes for 30%, you know, of the value of the house, or 40% of the value of the house. They never tell you that there's 2 different types of pricing. There's pricing on houses under $50,000 and pricing on houses over $60,000. Those are really the thresholds. So under $50,000, the reason why those notes are going for 30 cents on the dollar is because there's much more risk to them, right? That's why they're cheaper. I mean, I never took these classes, but
They tell you that.
they tell you that?
Sure.
You know, and the reason why I want to stay on the 60,000 or more is because that's more conservative. But when you think about it, you know, for instance, on one of the notes we bid 57% of the value of the house, right? For me to go up and pay 60%, my return is really only going to be affected by maybe 1%. So it's going to be the difference between making 15% and 14%. You know, if I want to get the note and I think it's a good note, I'm going to move on it. That's the problem with people, is they get in their mentality that they're losing money.
Yes.
You're not losing money.
Yeah.
You're making a good value.
And
So,
I was recently at RIA by Baltimore this week and talking about notes, and there were a lot of people, and they were saying, well, what are you paying for notes? And I says, a quality note's going to run you 50 to 60%. If it's performing, even more than that. And I says, really? He says, no, I'm hearing you can buy these things for like 20 and 30 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's their hook.
that's the
Yeah,
hook
Yeah.
to get you in the door. But when you're seeing the quality product, you're not going to pay that. You're never going to win a bid on a quality product at those percentages. Louisiana, where, you know, there's more alligators living in the house than people, yeah, you're gonna pay that kind of price. Because down there, the properties are really depressed and they really have no value, and the people are making $12,000-15,000 a year working full-time. So that's all they're gonna afford, but it's a tough market.
Two other things, right? Just so you know, if you guys make a bid and it's accepted, that means you overpaid for it.
Yep.
Pretty much. Okay? 99% of the time, the person's gonna come back with a counteroffer, right? I never wanna be the person that puts out a number first. So people, even in the past week, you know, I'm selling performing notes, somebody came to me and said, what's your minimum for the whole pool? I am never gonna give him that number.
Right.
I'm gonna say, make a bid on it. Now, and you know, if it's what I want, then that's fine. I'm like, but there's, with a person like that, I'm just gonna say, I'm not that desperate to sell the notes, because I'm not. I'd rather sell 1 or 2 notes to people than sell 50 notes to people. Because the people that are buying 50 notes are gonna want a bigger discount than the person buying 1 or 2 notes. I make all my money on the people that are buying 1 or 2 notes, because that's retail price, right? Just like anything else in the world, you know, you buy 1 marble, it's gonna cost more than 10,000 marbles. So, what?
Per marble.
Per marble.
Oh my God, yeah, economies of
Yeah.
scale.
So I mean that's just how I think of you know, that type of bidding. And also a lot of people will put out. So for instance, this list they put out, the minimum is a 50% bid, right? 50% of the value of the house. You never want to put the minimum in as a bid, and that's because there's always going to be somebody that's going to bid a bit above minimum, and you'll lose right away. You know, we have this fight sometimes.
Well,
you know.
minimum is 50% of the value of the house. The fight comes in on is what is the value of the
Valuation
house.
of the house.
Yeah.
And if you have, well, since we both evaluate the pricing and then we compare notes, we hit a percentage of our notes, we're gonna be at 2 different ends for our pricing. And then we have to work it out and do the battle in between. But it's a matter, the hedge fund may, and what, I mean, in Eddie Speed's program, he said 30% are high, 30% are right, and 30% are low. The bottom line is you need to verify, is the price that you're getting from the hedge fund there correct? They could have a completely different concept of it. I'm willing to put in a bid below 50% of their value, because I think that house is worth $20,000 less than they're saying it is.
Yep.
And if they come back and they say, no, okay, that's fine, I'll move on to another note, type of thing. But it gives me a feel if they're gonna negotiate. Would I put in 10 or 20 bids and play that game? No. Putting in 1 or 2 now and then in the cycle? Yes. Because again, it's a feel, to me, I'm willing to take a feel on a few things just to see would they come that low.
Yeah, but you want to combine that with other realistic bids.
With realistic.
You never want to be that low ball, that low ball bidder, because
On every bid, yeah.
again, the guy selling it's just going to be like, I'm going to get the same thing from this guy every time, and I think it's worth 10% more. Like you always want to be sort of in that middle, and that's what we try to do, right? So for the note that was the 57%. Is it 57% note? Probably not, and they're probably going to come back to me and say 59 or 60%. But I know where my threshold is. I know I'm not paying more than maybe 60, 61% for that note.
And you only know that because your bid's accepted. So it's probably good
Yeah.
a lot of our bids weren't accepted, see? Because we weren't overpriced.
Well, we got feedback on some of the bids that were accepted, and there were, that some of them were almost 100% of the value owed on a non-performing note.
Right.
And, or the fair market value, sorry, and some came back like 75%.
We couldn't.
We were like,
Are you
forget
talking
it,
about-
we're
We
not,
didn't believe the feedback we
Are you
got.
talking? Well,
Yeah.
I don't blame you, but is this on the UPB or on?
on the fair market
value.
value.
Fair market value of the property.
And these are
Yeah.
for properties around what price?
What were they, around like 50,000, something like that?
Yeah.
I think it was, or I think it was.
To
I
pay
was like,
100%.
no freaking way I'm paying that.
That's a complete lie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that's a person. I
And one of them, we went to visit the property because it was in Maryland,
Yeah.
and the area was iffy anyway. And
Close to
the
being
amount that
war
we heard that was paid for that, I was floored. I was like, these people don't know what they're bidding on.
I think that was the batch from Note Trader too.
Was
Yeah.
Again,
It was.
I'm not going to lie to you. the most money is made. So all these guys, how do I describe it? Another thing that's going to be different with my company than the rest of these sellers is all these guys don't care about tomorrow. Like if they screw somebody today, they don't care. I guarantee you there are notes that are sold that people are going to lose money on their principal, 100%. If people are paying 100% of the fair market value
Yeah.
in Maryland, I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't even make sense because Maryland's a nice place, but it's not going to appreciate by 30% next year. You know what I
Even
mean?
if it does, the note doesn't.
Well,
I-
if
To
it does, a
tie-
lot of people in here are going to
to
make a lot of
tie-
money. So.
Tie these comments together with what you were, I think the part of the point you were trying to make about gurus.
Yeah.
I think a lot of time they make their money hawking some of these tools to new students,
Yes.
trying to incentivize them. You have to take action, you have to take action. Even if you're just buying one, I think a lot of people are taken advantage of as new students coming out of these programs.
Well, let's just put this out there, and this stays between our walls right here, right? You know, I've always said with Eddie Speed, he claims that he's bought 30 to 40,000 notes. If you bought 30 to 40,000 notes,
Why are you still?
not only that,
Yeah.
Why are you working that hard?
not only that, but you know the source for product everywhere, right? I bought much less than 30,000 notes. I bought much less than 100 notes, and I have more sources to buy notes than Eddie Speed does. What is that telling you? I mean, it's saying that he doesn't really care. He's just trying to hawk his education, and he's going to get a piece of the action on the back.
Well, he's having his students be bird dogs for him, find the
Bring
notes,
the pro-
and
bring
then
the deals
bring the
to him.
product to him,
Yes.
and he'll buy the note as well.
We do that too. That's why we pay $500 for a class.
Okay, when you're doing these questions, and you're asking these questions, and you're putting in your bid, well, not doing the questions, but when you're putting in the bid and it comes back that, no, they don't want it, do you educate them as far as the information that you?
I tell them why I put that bid in, and for the most part, they don't care. They're just trying to make a deal.
They're sitting behind a desk being paid an hourly wage and a commission to sell. And their money is based on
The
moving
hourly
the note.
wage, but yeah.
Well,
Well,
the minimum, but they basically get, their go, move the note for as much as they can. They don't care, and they did none of the research. They didn't tell you, they didn't go to that spreadsheet and determine what the true value of that property was. They were given a package, somebody else plugged in these numbers, and this is what it is.
Most of these guys that are sellers, they were just sales guys before. Val was a stockbroker before. He sold in the 90s. If you saw the new Leonardo DiCaprio movie that's what Val was in the 90s. The Wolf of Wall Street.
And I think what's happening too is that there's so many people out there now, like us, that want to buy notes and that are making ridiculous bids.
Yes.
And it's hurting people like us that are hoping to be more knowledgeable about the amounts that we think that these are worth. And they're coming in higher and we're getting,
Well, one of the
Thrown
things, when Tina and I started this, and you guys started funding back in like August into the group, we had planned to have more notes at this point, and we want to pull the trigger, but we're not pulling the trigger on garbage.
right,
Good.
And that was something that we've had discussions about. It's like, we see product going through every week by us, and it's like, not at these prices.
exactly.
Our goal
And
with
we-
this
We've
group,
seen that a lot too.
our goal with this group, for 100%, is to protect principal. If any of us make $10,000 or 10% or 15% on $25,000, it's not going to affect our livelihoods. But if we lose $10,000 on that note, that could affect livelihoods. You know what I mean? Or on that investment. So, our number one goal before even making money is to be disciplined and protect our principal.
And it's hard to do.
Mhm.
When you've got money in the bank and you want it moving and making money for you, it's one of the hardest things to do is not pull the trigger, you know?
We so
You're there.
understand that, we are so there, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what we're doing, and that's why we've spent, God, so many hours going through this stuff. And placed only a handful of bids, because we just know that this isn't worth bidding on at any price.
Are you guys gonna share, what you bid on the notes?
Yes.
with
Yeah,
us?
of course. We're going over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're Today is a lot of catch up and review. We're not gonna have time to do that, but on the notes that we're packaging, we'll have that in our next meeting. We'll go
And
through the
Karen,
entire
just so
thing.
you know, we share everything. We're in the middle.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's nothing hidden. There's only a slow person sending the emails.
Now, what I did a couple of days ago, we will send that out, and we need feedback, and we need to move. I mean, that guy basically said, if you don't move in 2 days, I'm done. Like, I'll sell it to somebody else. So, I could do that. I feel comfortable doing that. You might not feel comfortable doing that yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll do it in a day. I don't care. It's just, you know, I had other things to do, so I needed more. Like, it literally came down to like 4 o'clock, and I was sending out the bid because on yesterday,
Yeah.
because I'm just so busy doing everything else.
All right, I want to jump into this because we want to move through a couple of these things to get to the tape. All right, in this due diligence sections, we've plugged in a lot of resources again on finding information. Also, there's a bunch of sites for like finding neighborhoods, surrounding areas, city data, that type of thing. So all of these things are in here, stuff that we've found. Here's a number of places you can get rental rates and that, different sites. So every place that we've touched, we've gone in and done that too. Then created a due diligence kind of analysis sheet for the property. When you're making these decisions, you're not gonna have every blank filled on this spreadsheet. You're gonna have some of this information filled in, and you're gonna pull the trigger, because if you wait until you go through and find everything. Now, by the time you funded this note, you'll fill in practically everything. But you wanna know the square footage you're buying into, bedrooms, bathrooms, typical investment information. You're gonna set up what you think estimated property values are. A lot of the websites will give you that information. And you're just gonna play with that and plug in your numbers to see what makes sense. Crime rates, critical. When I go into Trulia, and you go down to their map, and in Trulia, they have a lot of headings, and one of them's crime. You click on that, and it will color code your map based on the number of crimes over the last period of time. And there are times I click on it, my entire map turns bright red. I usually walk away. You know, when it's in the pink range or the middle range, yeah, I'll still consider it. When it turns red and everything around it's red, you know, for miles surrounding this property, it's just not a place that you're gonna deal with, because the problems are gonna be too great.
Just watch an episode of The Wire, and if it looks like that, stay away.
So, those are things that I
Just
look
don't
at,
buy
and
multiple.
it's real quick when you're going through your notes and looking at property. Taxes, call and confirm. Sometimes taxes are listed on the tape, but every courthouse, you can either do it online. We were just doing that Friday evening, 3 o'clock, trying to get this finished before we place
But we want
payment.
to show, we'll show them that later.
Yeah, that's be another part of it.
Yeah.
But you can go online, you can get the tax information. I actually checked online, and then I did a follow-up phone call to the courthouse to ask the second question. Was any of the taxes sold at a tax lien or anything else that are outstanding in the past? So, quick call. I mean, sometimes it takes longer to find the right phone number, but it was about 12 minutes. I had 2 properties called and talking to human beings at 2 different courthouses in 2 different states.
And expected to speak to 2 different types of people. One is a 23-year-old auditor, and 2 is like a tax clerk that's 85 years old, that's been there for 50 years. That's most of the counties out there.
Which one's the best one to talk to?
I don't know.
I mean,
Do you want the
There's
recipe
some
for
time
good
to do it.
cookies?
That's
The
a question.
85-year-old is the way to go. On here, things like liens, sometimes you're not gonna get lien information before you place a bid. That's gonna show up in your O&E report. And so this worksheet is just a simple way for you to pull that together. Now,
You can get some lien information through the county websites though.
Yep.
sometimes you can, but a lot of the county, because we're not dealing with Fairfax County,
Right.
we're dealing with in jurisdictions. I mean, I've called places that don't even have a computer system.
Right, right.
So,
Or
it
you have to
depends.
pay, or you have to pay to get information.
Right.
I mean, everything on an O&E report, you could find for free. I mean,
Yeah.
abstracts, it's just that they know where to call and we don't. It's the stupid tax.
What's
Yeah.
O&E stand for?
Occupancy and encumbrance report.
And up in the definition, it actually shows O&E with the full name and a definition.
Oh, it says it
and
right
also-
there.
Yeah, and this one here. Things like Insurance and taxes, whether or not they have insurance and stuff like that, that's something you're gonna get when you purchase a note, you've got the collateral package and you're setting your services up, confirming what the insurance, and whether or not you'll need to put forced place insurance on it. Some servicers will provide forced place insurance. They have carriers and they'll just automatically, if you want it, they'll set it up for you. There are a couple insurance companies around the country that will actually, you can go to and insure it. And I have their names in the resource section here too, that you can pick this stuff up and get to their websites. Forced place is different. It's not something that you'd normally go to State Farm and get, or Nationwide. It's usually a specialty provider. Let's spin through this. Now, 3A-1 is, I just simply created a one-page worksheet for you to use as a note sheet. It's got the basic information about the borrower. Is there an address, is a mailing address different than their residence? You know, are they living in the property stuff? This gives you the first bedroom type. This is simply a strictly, you know, normal investors type thing. At the bottom of this, it's got some workout, performing yield, quick sale yield, things like that. We'll get into the spreadsheet again on those information, but it's a place for you to jot down and create notes, and it helps as a reminder of, you know, what you're looking for. So that's a blank sheet. It's on a page by itself, so you can just print that out and help use it as a quick worksheet. Then I put resources in here. A lot of these are duplicated. Actually, I'm going to clean up and take them out because I have sometimes in here too.
What file are you on now?
That was 3B, the resources. It actually contains a lot of the same information that is in the other section. So I'm going to be cleaning some of that up because I've got it duplicated in a few places.
Anybody here use Neighborhood Scout at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's one I don't normally use.
Neighborhoodscout.com.
Yeah. I like
If-
that one. I think it pulls from all the others too, but it just gives different format. How it presents the information.
It will give you some free information, but then if you want more detailed information, you can pay a
Right.
monthly fee.
That's what it
And
does.
when you pay the extra, I don't think you get all that much more
I don't think
information.
you do.
Yeah, we paid, you know, whatever it was. I paid, it
This is
was like $100 for the year or something like that, so I have it.
We are gonna get a subscription to RealQuest
Okay.
on a monthly basis, hopefully in the next month or two, and once we do, we'll give that, as long as the group's together, we'll give that password out so that everyone can use it, you know, whether you wanna use it for your own notes or our notes. It's much better than going through Zillow and Trulia and all those other.
What is it?
Realquest.com, it's a core logic product. Janice looks like she's about to die.
It's going on 3:30. We haven't taken a break. Want to take a 5-minute stand-up
Yeah, I
break?
wouldn't mind standing.
Yeah, let's do that for 5 minutes and then we'll start back up and go from there.
Just want you to hold it out or something.
And just, everybody, if you have questions, just write them down so that we can answer them at one point. Or do it as the YouTube of the week.
What's that?
Anybody go?
Yes.
The last meeting that was
Yeah,
Arlington
so
one
the
before
desk
you?
right across the living room.
You just pass it around.
What? No, I'm
Directed
an
IRAs.
agent, Northern Virginia.
Best
I'm
way
a
to handle
rehab.
things is to have
Oh.
your
You
IRA,
know, I sell my
LLC.
own listings, I don't sell them.
Thank you very much.
You know, as a
But I
realtor.
read that the IRS is not
You do a lot of
giving,
rehabbing?
yeah,
Sure.
tax identification or identification numbers. Anybody else? So, one member, LLC's owned by an IRA.
Okay, well,
That's
actually,
a problem if they don't do that.
what I heard too was is that the IRS is starting to look at where they can collect more money. And one of the things they're looking at
Karen, let me ask you a
is
question.
self-directed IRAs
Comparative to like what
where
Scott
the
Carson does,
investor as checkbook
Karen.
control.
do we give more or less information?
The chance of them,
Like
you
on
of you
this?
breaking one of the
Is there
IRS
some other stuff we should be talking about, or?
that they
You're about the
realize
same.
this
He
is simple. These
does
are
a
small
really
private
good
investors.
job
They don't have big capital to
what-
fight the IRS.
Information that
And
he gives,
it's
you know,
one
we're
of the areas that the IRS is
Okay.
going to start looking at.
We thought he did a really good
And
job with
the guy
that.
with the self-directed IRA and a servicer without checkbook
We
control,
also
he's
sat
at the
through
bottom
Eddie
of the
Speed's
list.
initial
Because that
2 days
servicer in
course.
between is doing
Um,
a certain amount of protection.
And we
The
thought he
person
was
with the
very
checkbook
knowledgeable
control is at the
Yeah.
about
top of their
things,
list to start.
but his data that he gave
Yeah,
us
yeah,
in like a workbook format
The
wasn't
Baltimore
all
Read
that great.
Expo.
We had to take a lot of notes.
The Internet IRA.
I think you guys
They
did a
went to
great
a,
job.
was it a
with
radio,
the data that you're giving, it's consolidated, it's concise, it
a
gives
guy high
you
level
all
on the IRS
websites, I
spoke
mean,
at the conference and he
I
said,
think it's great,
that's one of the.
Cool.
really.
Because we
That's
want
one of
to
the next
eventually
things
start
that
doing like
start
local
focusing on
seminars and maybe
self-directed
charging
IRA.
like $100 or
Mhm.
something like that per person.
LLCs.
And we just don't want to do something that's half-assed versus
So I
what people
imagine.
go out
It's
and
working its way
No,
through.
I think you guys
So,
are really doing a good job.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, I said that right
It's,
from the very first meeting.
Well, yeah, just-
I was like, wow, these
So
guys
yeah, I
are,
avoided
Yeah,
actually.
'cause we're
a
not-
lot of documentation.
Yeah,
Learning.
we're trying to build it up before we go national and start selling stuff.
They're
So,
pretty
Sure,
low cost.
sure.
This
It's
is
hard to get.
the whole goal of the
something
group
done
is
fast
to not
like
just,
that, so.
you know,
Yeah,
make a
they're
return
slow,
and teach
but they're
people,
low
but it's
cost.
to make a business.
But it's a matter of
Well,
planning
right,
it,
but-
and so
okay,
when I'm
so
in a
remember what
situation, I'll pay
you're up
the
there
extra
talking
$30.
about, that thing about the cruise,
Yeah.
remember that when you become one of
That's
those.
true, that's true.
I
Even though it's
still
still gonna
did
take a couple
something on my
days.
computer.
I have to remember
that.
Yep.
I do love talking trash.
But the other process can
That's
take
okay.
up to 7.
I
They say
like
5
your
is,
truth
they
about
say 3 to
stuff,
5.
so-
In reality, it's more like 5 to 7 on average.
I had that experience with mine, even though I
Okay.
paid for an expedited piece, so.
Ian, I've lost my document.
But it was over the holidays.
Right.
And I just came missing.
I
and
started
yeah, they
doing
had
my
a question.
keyboard.
And the question,
I've lost my
and
document.
they've asked me questions, the information's in the documentation. So that's something that's what's
So thi-
perturbing, but I haven't found. I've heard some
So who
good
do you
things
have?
about her, I have Equity Trust.
Oh,
This is a,
But if you look at
this
Horizon,
is a wall and you paint something on it, and supposedly
it's
it
called Horizon, and
disappears.
they're out of
Why
Las
don't you try
Vegas.
this before?
And the guy that did the training for Equity Trust and set up the entire training program and helped build it with the original owner,
The
the
dry
father
erase,
of Equity
they have
Trust.
that for kids'
He
rooms
left
now.
Equity
Yeah,
Trust
yeah.
and went
You
out
can
and
make
started
the kids'
his own.
room into a
He is
chalkboard.
super
Yeah,
knowledgeable.
it's a, well, it's like,
Really nice
he told me
guy.
it's a
I've met
paint,
him
that's
a
why
couple
this
times.
glue is here.
And
You paint onto it, you let
if I
it sit
didn't
there
have
for
my
5
stuff in
days, and then you
different
could start, you
properties
could
where
erase
there's
anything.
title stuff, I would probably move to him
And-
eventually, and I may do that, but I just, I gotta
What's
wait
weird
until
about
I
it is
got
that
enough back
Sid is
in
like
to do
5'2",
the capital.
and this is like
Well, I'm-
all the way up there, so
I'm,
I don't know if
Yeah.
he uses it too much.
One,
How does he get up there?
direct
Exactly.
investment away from having,
Oh,
pretty much all my self-directed IRA.
you know how I can get this.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where I'm at, I've got everything tied up.
I can't even figure out how to shut this over. Close, okay, over there.
So we still in the four, or,
No, I'm gonna run
No.
parallel
Yeah, we're
after.
probably gonna run a little late.
Yeah, everybody with the rain.
Yeah.
I know, the guy, we drove
So-
together, and he said he had to be back by 5.
Ian was asking
I don't know
how,
I'm
what we
gonna stop
thought
it. I
of
was
the
supposed to run an
documentation,
errand on
the
the way back.
documentation that they,
I was
the
thinking
training
ahead.
that they've been giving in comparison to the other classes that we sat through to educate us about this. And
I like it. I
Yeah.
think it's top notch, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really shaping up. I
Yeah.
mean, it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's consolidated,
coming
yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
No, good.
Yeah.
So my question is, what are you doing with the new people that are coming in, because you can't fit them into Series 101?
So
So
we're-
if I have people that are interested.
We're probably not gonna do another group like this, in the future, because it's just, we put,
Cumbersome.
I mean, to say that we put, I mean, if we made $1 an hour, no,
Yeah.
it's okay. Off of each hour we put into this, I mean, we put hundreds of hours into this.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, unless I go out and charge somebody, you know, I mean, I think we could charge a lot less than what Scott Carson or Eddie Speed charges for their mentorship program. I think we could do the same thing for probably half of that, and still do well. You know, but that, again, that involves doing a whole nother business, and
Right.
you know, the good thing is with Sid, we might be able to do that because he does a lot of internet marketing.
So Scott Carson's coming here next month.
Yes.
Right, email.
So he just called me because I do like Scott, and I'm going to be promoting his class. So we're all as a group going to promote Scott Carson. You guys have been
We'll
with
be there.
him.
We'll be there in this class.
Actually, I was thinking
Yeah.
about going, I was wondering what you
And
guys thought.
basically,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're going.
Yeah.
It was definitely worth the 4 days. Do it.
I think what we could do is Scott will pay like a $100 referral, and you know, basically we'll just give that to whomever gets people to come. But you know, I figured why not? It's free money. If I could get Scott to promote the course, and again, I want to build a community. You know, a lot of people are starting to get into notes, but they especially down here. So I'm meeting up, we're meeting up next week with the woman who does business coaching for Eddie Speed. She actually lives in Northern Virginia. And she found out about us, and she wants to build a community down here. And I want to be, my whole goal is to be the PPR of DC. And I want to build the entire community and have, like I told you, have everybody in a business around it making money.
Right.
So, that's the next thing. It's just, there's only so many groups I could go to, and, Baltimore RIA, for instance, about Eddie Speed, Baltimore RIA, I don't know if anybody has gone to it, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.